Welcome everybody to the Burma Spring Benefit Film Festival. My name is Gaetano Maeda, and I'm one of the organizers, and I serve as Executive Director of Buddhist Film Foundation based here in California. I'm very gratified to say, and many of you probably don't know this, but there are over 4,000 pass holders from all over the world who have signed up to experience this Burma Spring Benefit Film Festival. And so we've extended the festival to run through Sunday, June 20th. We were originally going to end today, but the interest and the enthusiasm from audiences has been wonderful and very, very gratifying, and we'll be running through for another week, and that gives everybody plenty of time to explore our program of 39 films, 9 speaker forums, and we have some surprises coming up to add to your experience as well. The situation in Burma remains dire, and there's nothing we can do but really encourage you to help by making a donation if you can, whatever you're comfortable with, and continue to help your neighbors, your friends, understand what's going on there. The news seems to be on a bit of a blackout approach, and we're doing our best to share the information we have and the information that we can gather from the extraordinary work of filmmakers that we're presenting on the festival. Now, one of our goals in programming was to highlight the work of filmmakers from Burma. That was very important to us, and I'm delighted to be hosting several filmmakers whose work is featured in the festival. And so welcome to you all, filmmakers. And what I would like to do, and suggest that we'll just go around and have you introduce yourself very briefly, just your name and the title of your film. And when we all have been introduced, we'll have a conversation. So let's start with Weimar. Please tell us your about your film, just the title, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Mingala. Hello, everyone. Very glad to meet you all. My name is Weimar, and then the film participating in the festival is called Burma Spring 21. It's a collective film from many filmmakers from Myanmar.
Perfect. And Hannah, I know you're also involved with this film. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, exactly. My name is I'm situated in Berlin, in Germany, and I'm also involved in the film Burma Spring 21.
Okay, let's go with Eddie.
Hi, I'm Aung-Thwin, but everyone calls me Eddie. I made Return to Sender, and I'm super.
We're having a little audio there, but I hope it will clear up. It seems to be a classic bandwidth issue. Okay, and Mila, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mila Aung-Thwin. I'm Burmese Canadian, and the film I have at the festival is called The Vote.
Actually, The Vote, yes, it's that's the film that we're going to talk about. Why don't we start with you, since we began the introductions, Weimar. Tell us a bit, you and Hannah maybe together, tell us a bit about Burma Spring 21, and also, you know, how did this thing get assembled? I know that you're in Finland, Hannah, you're in Germany, but all the action is in Myanmar. So please help us understand how you produced this extraordinary work.
Yeah. After a few days, the coup had made in February, and Hannah and I talked online. Like, we were really shocked and saddened and very angry, and with the situation, like we start to think, like, what can we do from distance, physically distancing, and we like automatically as filmmakers, we start to think like we want to do something about this, and we start to think about filmmaker friends inside. So that's how we start to communicate each other to discuss about like recruiting some filmmaker friends and to get the materials from them and make a short film.
Yes.
So Hannah, can you, yeah.
Yeah, I just maybe want to add that we were feeling really. We both felt like we wanted to be there. We wanted to be there to fight with them, you know. And so for us, it was really nice to be able to do something without being in the country, you know. And so in the beginning, basically, we wrote an email to all our filmmaking friends because we have a very big network of filmmakers in the country. And so we basically wrote to all of them, telling them, everybody, please send us 30 seconds of just a short impression. Send us a short impression of what's going on the streets. And so that's what we originally wanted. And then yeah, some of our friends came back to us and said, yeah, we're gonna send you something. And then basically this is how it started. And then they were sending us short material, but then also longer material. And basically, I mean, it was in the first days, so like every day something new happened, and so basically they were sending more and more material, and we started having a lot of material and watching it every day, feeling as if we were there. And then we had a deadline, because the original idea was, okay, what can we do outside of the country? We are not in there. What can we do? So we thought, okay, we want to tell the world about what's happening there and how great this protest is. You know, this was in the very beginning. We were enthusiastic. We were excited, and so we to know. And so we thought, they are inside, they have every day a lot to do, go to protest and find new things to do, and we are outside, and basically we have the time to edit something, the time to work for them, with them, and this is basically how we started. And we also had a deadline. We said, okay, send us material until 20th of February, and then we want to edit, because at the end of February we wanted to basically basically have a finished film. And so this is what we did. And one of our film, the Berlinale, the talent campus at the Berlinale, and it was taking place in the beginning of March. And so go there with him, and so that we would get attention, more attention than we would get by just putting it on Facebook or something. And yeah, this is basically how it started.
How is it being made available?
Basically through social media. We just made it available through social media, and because and reached quite high numbers quite quickly.
Well, you should know that it is the #1 viewed film on the Burma Spring Benefit Film Festival as of this morning. So there's
Wow.
no question that you're reaching people. We were very concerned when we started programming the festival about putting filmmakers or film subjects at risk who were still in country. Did you have any issues with that, with your source material, with your source filmmakers?
Wema, do you?
Yeah, we discussed a lot about that. In the beginning, after we produced the film and it put on social media, it's in March, we still have the names of the filmmakers and the credit that we always discuss with the filmmakers as in the first place, and we get like their feedback, and that they all said like names can be there in the credit. So we did, but then the situation has been getting worse and worse. Then we start to think about this is not going to be very good to have the names and the credits. So we had to replace another version without the credits in the end. So
Are your source filmmakers all safe? Have you been able to
yes,
stay in touch?
yes, they are safe, and we are still in contact with some of them, a few of them. Many of them, of course, still very low profile, and in reaching out on the online. So we don't want to really talk to them at some point. So, but basically, there is no any effect from the films to the filmmakers.
I'm glad to hear that, and you know, with the popularity of the film on our site, we're also happy to know that you've made sure that everybody is safe. That's very important at this time,
Exactly.
especially with the recent arrest of the filmmaker in Burma, and with no knowledge, no information about her. Have you heard anything more about that arrest?
Yes, my friend actually, and we haven't heard any news about her yet. And it's really deep concern and very heavy heart for all of us that it's already over a week now that she must have been really facing quite difficult time.
Mm, mm. Please send us email with an update if you learn anything. We're paying very
Yes.
close attention. I appreciate that. Let's move on to Eddie, because you're the odd one out. You are the only one with a scripted drama, Return to Sender, and which we love. And by the way, it's also in the top 10 of most viewed films on our film festival today. So people are responding to it. Tell me, what was the inspiration for the film, and how did you manage to cast it so well?
So that's the crazy that we filmed it during the little gap between the first wave and the second wave of the pandemic in Myanmar. And basically me and my friends we should envision like a progressive, dreamt up Yangon that we want to see, where everyone is kind of free to be who they are, and let's just go all out. So that's what we did. And yeah, with the casting, it's mostly just friends, because I made the film with 90% of the crew and cast are all my close friends. So it's just trust on both sides. Yeah.
Well, it's a remarkable, in a way, metaphorical little story, and it absolutely is essential that your central character be believable and also very empathetic, and you chose extremely well. I mean, is he really 14?
Yeah, he was really 14. He's the brother of my friend. So
He's perfect, absolutely
Yeah.
perfect. And
Yeah,
you
we
know,
love him.
yeah, and you know, was he only using your lines, or was he improvising at all?
He couldn't improvise, sadly, but the thing is, he goes to an international school and he doesn't really speak or read the language. So, but he was really passionate about the project and being part of it. So what he did was his brother would always teach him line by line phonetically.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah,
Wow.
and we would always joke that, like, maybe you should start learning Burmese, considering you are one living in the country. But he did such a remarkable job, considering the circumstances. Yeah.
Well, and you know, there's a sense at the end of the film, there's a sense at the end of the film that there may be a sequel, because it doesn't end with finality.
Yeah. We were talking about like what we could do with the project after we wrapped up, because it was so fun for us. But I don't think there is. I think it's kind of open ended in a sense that it's right where it should be. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Thank you for that film. You know, we, as I say, our audiences are enjoying it, and we were delighted. Most of the films we have, as you will see if you explore the festival, almost all of the films are documentaries, which
Yeah.
is in and of itself. But your film is one of, I think, 5 scripted works, and the audience is really responding to it.
Thank you. I'm very glad to have been a part of this, like our little festival, our little film in this festival. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We're happy to have you. It's your turn, Mila. We were very impressed with your film, The Vote. It gives audiences a real palpable sense of the expectations and the experience of that historic election, 2015. And we wonder, what was your strategy in taking on a classic, you know, election campaign documentary, but in a more artful way?
Well, it was no strategy really. I was teaching at the Human Rights Film Festival, Human Dignity Institute, a course on first-time filmmakers, and with a cinematographer. And we realized that he was going to arrive right during the election. And he's like, hey, should I shoot some stuff? And then he would, it was our second trip there. So we'd already trained the students a bit. And so they sort of let us in and worked with us to make the film. And they were like, hey, do you want to film at the NLD headquarters? And do you want to, and it was all this amazing sort of, you know, access that we wouldn't have got on our own. And the students kind of made a film at the same time in parallel with us. And I mean, I think for us, it was like the feeling of hopefulness, cautious sort of optimism, I think as one character puts it, was overwhelming. But then at the end, I don't know if anybody remembers, like but when I was crafting the title cards for the end to sort of say the conclusion, it was basically like, what I was getting out of the cards was basically that the Constitution of Burma allows for the military to, you know, declare a coup kind of at any time. And it was kind of like so much positivity. And at the same time, there was in the back of our heads, what just happened now was like, you know, this could happen, but let's hope it doesn't. And so it's like when I rewatch the film, I find it very tragic.
Well, it immediately occurred to us that maybe you're thinking of doing a film about the 2020 elections as well, to essentially bookend the effort that you took on in 2015. But understandably, that's a whole nother project. I'm wondering, you have a character, Mon Myat is in the film, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about her and her colleague, Mintin Kokoji, because
yeah, so
it's like in the background of...
Yeah, they were the head of the Human Dignity Institute. And so, you know, I've known them on and off for years because I first showed a film there maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. And so they ran this very important film festival that was co-founded by Aung San Suu Kyi. But basically, Mon she was like sort of in some way, she's like the narrator of the film in some way. She's like giving us her thoughts on the film. Min Tien was arrested for the second time by the military. He was arrested, he was held for a couple of years, I think, the first time, and then let out. And then he was arrested on the night of the coup. Like, he was one of the first people to be arrested during the coup. And I believe he's still in jail. So like that institute has been kind of broken apart by various forces, including, you know, like arresting the head of the festival and cutting their funding. It's really, that's kind of sad too, because it was really a good place to train students, but it also had a very political bent. You know, they were making aggressive, not aggressive films, but just truthful films. They would challenge the rules, and they were shut down on numerous occasions for telling a story about, you know, like one of them was about the Facebook law, about talking trash about the military on Facebook. They made a film about that. They made a film about Rohingya that, you know, caused the festival to, like, the people to step in and pull the film out of the festival. So in 2013 or 14, like right at the beginning. So they were very, not aggressive, but they were very prominent in terms of like making these films, but ultimately they've been shut down.
Are they safe? Is everybody, in a position of freedom of movement, or are besides?
I haven't heard from Momo, but I know some of the students actually are basically in hiding. I've had one contact me to try to help her get out of the country because she thinks she's on a list to be arrested. So it's not comfortable. I don't think for anybody in the kind of like, even in the arts, it's comfortable right now, because anybody who is aware of the world is likely the people to be arrested. The only people, like I'm in Thailand right now, editing a film about the Rakhine State, and it's a very long project of midwives in Rakhine State, so dealing with Muslim and Buddhist people getting along and not getting along. And the filmmaker has been trying to leave Burma to come editing in Canada with me, and she hasn't been able. So we finally decided, okay, you can get to Thailand, I can get to Thailand, let's meet here. So, but she went under about a couple of weeks of kind of terror, not knowing if she would be nabbed at the airport. Like, because here's the official list of people they announce on TV, like these people should be arrested. They announce them on TV, I think, every night or something. And then there's the people they just pull out of the line at the airport as they're trying to leave. And she very well could have been that person, and then she wasn't. But her colleague was pulled aside, the other filmmaker, the same day she was leaving, I believe. So we're lucky that she's out of the country now and we're working on the project. But yeah, nobody feels safe, and everybody, I think, feels like really ground down. The optimism of the early days of the spring seems to be like, now it's just grinding people down.
Well, that actually brings me to something I want to invite you all to talk about, and that is that, we had the impression here in the States over the last 10 years that there was an extraordinary creative explosion of filmmaking activity in Burma, and we were delighted. We got to show new films. We had some wonderful series that we presented from the Yangon Film School. And we had a couple of interesting films. Maybe you've seen the film from an American filmmaker called Golden Kingdom, which actually went all the way into a theatrical release in the United States. I don't know how it's doing in Europe. Maybe Hannah, you can speak to that a little bit. But after this coup in February, it's clear that this is not the same situation. And so I'm wondering if you can, each of you, maybe talk a little bit about, the filmmaking in Burma today. Is it even possible? Was filmmaking in fact a livelihood, or has it not yet sort of coalesced into an industry with a sustainable ecosystem? I'd be curious if maybe Weimar can start to tell us a little bit about what you're hearing.
Yeah. Of course, I heard a lot from my friends. Definitely this time it's not possible at all, that they can't really go out with camera. Even with phone, it's like shooting with the phone, it's already so dangerous. So going out with camera is completely impossible at the moment. But thinking back to the past, before 2010, like there were times that this kind of like very risky and sensitive situation, there were always some kind of like chances we always look for, and we kind of like go through like this, so tricky, and only because you are in the situation and you are in that environment, and you have like people you can trust to work together with or to be in that environment. Only then like how you are going through this to get what you want. So for me, at this moment, it's like better to stay like a little bit back and then see the situation if you are in the ground. But from time to time, there will be some like ways that you will find as filmmakers That's how I see. And I listen to my colleagues that they always they still find like ways to kind of like get the materials like in their own way, but very much in a high risk, of course. Yeah.
Eddie, any sense of what's happening on the ground?
So I left the country in April, and even before then, I was not involved in filming, but because I had another job that was at risk, and but a lot of my peers who are in the filmmaking industry, they were being super resilient, and they were doing everything they can to get the stories out, and they still continue to do so. And but the saddening part is that, right, it's no longer about themselves anymore. It's about something bigger, and they don't they're ultimately risking their life and livelihoods by filming something that could put them in jail, or just, it's traumatizing. It's traumatizing for them, and they can't even get their names attached to it for safety reasons. So that is the reality of what it has come down to. And with the military council imposing new laws about censorship that was already hard in the beginning, it's basically impossible for anything, really, not just documentaries, but anything to get made in this political climate. And I don't think, like, it's a lot of my filmmaker friends are just because, like you said, we were going through an explosion of whatever it was, and we were all just on the brink of seeing something blossom in the country, and it's just like that has been taken away from everyone, and it's just very disheartening to experience and to see. Yeah.
Well, perhaps we can look ahead to brighter days, but I really understand it. It's a very difficult situation there. We have a couple of questions, if I may, just take a step away from this and see what some of the audience are asking. I have a question here. It says, how has the audience in country responded to your film? And this is to you, Eddie, with its obvious LGBTQ content. Have you been able to find an audience for your film?
Yeah, we premiered the film at a local film festival called Watan, and we were also kind of like the odd film out, because it was a colorful little film about a kid, but the themes were centered around queer identity and issues. So basically what we wanted to do was kind of trick people, because we knew that we were going to send it to Watan, and we kind of wanted to challenge the audience by making them question themselves around, like, what their thoughts and how they view LGBT people and identities. So we kind of made it palatable on a superficial sense, but then it kind of, like, the main goal was to challenge and question what audiences would think about it. And I would say that it's mostly been positive, I would say. But then, of course, there are people that are not ready to confront their own prejudice against queer identity in general, especially in such a conservative country like Myanmar. So, but I would say it's been going well. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. We have a couple of films. One of them is called Irrawaddy Mon Amour, and This Kind of Love on the festival. And we're getting extraordinary response to all three of those films. And I'm delighted to see that. And I hope the word does spread through the communities that there's beautiful filmmaking being made, great stories, interesting characters, and these are not all documentaries, as we know. So there's an opportunity here. We may find that that this opening through a festival like ours, or we certainly can hope the Watan Festival can find a little home somewhere else if it has to. Certainly, we have enormous respect for that festival, and I think we chose a couple films from their programs, past programs. Speaking of
Yeah.
which, Mila, was the vote seen widely, or is it a festival circuit kind of film, or did you have a distribution opportunity for your
Well,
film?
we made it with Field of Vision. So they're a funder in the States that puts things online for free, and I think it's worldwide. So it sort of got a internet release very quickly, and then it played a few festivals. It launched at the New York Film Festival in a shorts series. That was a pretty cool. I mean, the New York Film Festival, I'd never played it before, so they treated us really nicely, and very good discussion, and some members of the Burmese community showed up there. But otherwise, it was kind of it's played a few festivals, and mostly it's been an online thing.
Well, I mean, and there's something to that. We're north of, actually, I just checked, we're north of 4,200 pass holders now. If we had opened in downtown San Francisco, which is our normal approach to film festivals, is to find a great venue either in San Francisco or nearby town, and do a festival, we would never see 4,200 full pass holders. We would see a couple hundred per screening. And if we have, that means that, there'll be just a few hundred people who would see most of the films. Here we have over 2,000 full film streams so far, which is an extraordinary number for a little startup festival, with no history. So, getting your films out, and this is particularly true of Burma Spring 21, which is clearly a short and it's meant to have immediate impact, and the vote, which it has historic resonance, certainly helps us understand, to some extent, the drama around the 2020 election, and of course this extraordinary reaction to it, and getting access to audiences through whatever means necessary. It seems to be a filmmaker's motto. We can't rely on the old patterns of access. Are you seeing this in Europe, Hannah? The use of virtual screenings and streaming and VOD, etc., as not just an alternative, but in fact as to some extent, a priority for independent filmmaking.
Sorry. Yeah, it's a good question, and I think, but you don't mean also like that every festival has become online because of COVID-19. You mean like a broader development of
Yes.
online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think honestly, it feels like since COVID-19, like everything has gone virtual, and that makes the virtual online world bigger, and it has been the case in Europe extremely, but I honestly I don't know. I mean, at the moment we are here in the position that we are all quite excited that things are taking place more on the streets again, and in cinemas, and in open
real
air
life.
cinemas. Yes, in real life, exactly. But I absolutely think that this is a development that's going to stay with us, and it has absolutely its advantages. I mean, your Burma Spring Benefit Film Festival, it's so great that so many people can watch it. I mean, we have been advertising it a lot, and it's a great thing to have access from anywhere. It's a great thing that I can join you right now, right? That we all can be together. We are all in different time zones, but we can all meet up here together and have this discussion. So I think it's definitely something that has its advantages, and it's going to stay also in Europe, definitely.
I'm interested to hear that, and I apologize again for getting up at 3 in the morning. Although I think our it's early morning in Bangkok, or is that true?
It's about 8:30 now. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not so terrible here. It's just the evening, and the sun is still up. It's almost the solstice, so we're happy here in California. I have a question that came from the audience here, and anyone can grab it. Says, how can filmmakers internationally support the Burma film community at this time? Mila, you want to take that one?
Well, I mean, I've been getting a lot of individual sort of requests for assistance in, navigating how to leave the country, writing letters of recommendation for people. Within the country, I have heard of different tools that people need at different times, like VPNs or something like that. But I haven't been following a coordinated effort of how to get that into the country. I mean, I know one of the very difficult things for my filmmaker who just left the country is her bank accounts have been seized like almost everybody else. So her grant money, luckily we had some of it in our bank and she had some in hers, but she has a big pile of money that's sitting there that she can't access all at once. So people aren't fluid, in terms of money. So there's a lot of like little things. I would also just caution people, like people call attention to, problems a lot of the times, but always be careful not to mention the specific individual, because it really, the Burmese government has such long tendrils. I mean, they've been doing this for 50 or 60 years. I mean, my dad in the 70s was like called out when he was traveling the country and was blacklisted from ever returning to the country. So it's like there's the network of quasi spies is disheartening in the government outside of the country. So I would just be a little bit careful. I want to say, like, raise awareness, but be careful with individual names and the way you get people information and goods or money. I've been having a very hard time with it myself.
Well, you raise that point, and certainly, we're raising money here on this film festival, but we are extremely attentive to this issue of how to distribute it safely to the beneficiaries that need the money. And we're working very hard on that front. We will not be naming beneficiaries in public, and we're going to be extremely careful about signaling any sort of stream of funding that we will be able to provide. Obviously, it's evermost in our minds that people's safety is the priority.
Yeah. I would also like to mention another school that I worked with teaching was the Yangon Film School, which you mentioned before, and they're a politically neutral, basically a trade school, like just teaching people how to become filmmakers without a political agenda. So as far as I know, they're still operational, and they're I would probably say that they're a very good resource for all sorts of filmmakers working in, fiction and documentary, and have been able to navigate a path where they're, not being shut down, but also still helping people. That's all I'll say.
Well, we are keenly aware of their work, and we've had some delightful films from them, and we wish them the best. I think it's a viable, ongoing enterprise, and we hope they can navigate the new landscape. I have another question. Let's see. It says, what will filmmakers who have had to leave the country be doing to strengthen the telling of those left, to strengthen the work of those left in the country? Is there anything that can be done In Toronto, we have a tiny film festival called the Toronto Buddhist Film Festival, and we would love to find a way to keep stories coming to North America. And you're Mila, did I understand you're Canadian? You live in Canada mostly?
Yeah, I live in Canada, in Montreal.
Montreal. Okay, maybe you could respond to that. You know, is there something that is possible for those of us here in North America to do to help filmmakers, if assuming that there's work that needs to be shown or to be gathered the way Weimar and Hannah did with Burma Spring 21, gathering footage and then editing it elsewhere. Is there anything that you think we can be doing?
I mean, so for myself, I know there's going to be films coming out. There are still films being shot right now. Like we had the final scenes of our film shot about a month ago. Ironically, we were unable to shoot in the Rakhine State during the entire COVID crisis because it was under lockdown. But after the coup began, Rakhine State became calm and a peaceful place compared to this capital. So we were able to shoot, get our final scene, and smuggle stuff out of the country. So I think there's still going to be films that are going to be shown, and they'll need help over the next couple of years in post-production and in editing. And I mean, as a filmmaker, I contribute a lot of time to filmmakers who don't have resources. Like I like to edit, I'll edit people's projects for free. I think if you can find people who need a resourcing, like getting footage out, you know, even logging and transcribing and maybe donating an editing platform or something, it can go a long way. You know, like there'll be stories. I mean, the stories will be very difficult to realize right now, but the motivation to get them done is stronger than ever.
Tell me, Weimar and Hannah, are you working on another project using your tried and true technique of collecting footage and assembling it elsewhere? One of you.
Yeah.
Do you wanna start?
Well, this is really a good question, and we both are really discussing about that, and hopefully unlikely to continue something, and also to have other ideas as well. Like Mila said, there are films coming out in the future. So it's true, and like some are in that kind of like way that come into our directions to like some materials coming to us, arriving to us, and then we are finding storylines and like all this possibility to have like producer and some like distribution, all this kind of like stuff to have properly like working on it. So yeah, and maybe Hannah can also add her ideas in this.
Yeah. Well, the thing is also that our friends who have been sending us material, community, the bigger community, they have been basically psychologically, they are in such a distress, the people that are in the country, and it is really hard for them to, I mean, they are busy with coping with the situation, and so basically they are sending it out, the material, and they are saying we are not able, we can't do something with it right now. Maybe take a look at it. Maybe you can do something. And so I think I think it's really it's a really difficult situation mentally, just of course generally, and so we might have the opportunity to do something, and also with the material which our friends sent us from the first month. We are at the moment also looking at it again, and also thinking about, okay, what could we do with it? You know, also how can we continue to raise awareness? How can we maybe make something small out of it? I mean, there's the idea of making something bigger. making something small that we can put out every week or something like that, you know. It's just, I mean, we haven't really figured it out, but we think that it would be good to work with the material longer, and put.
No, I have to tell you, I'm an old guy, and I grew up in the States during the heavy days of civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. And I was a filmmaker. I had a little Bolex, wind up, etc. And I was one of a group of people who would just film in the streets, no permits, demonstrations and riots and whatever is happening. We would hand the film to an organization called New York Newsreel, who would then take the footage and edit a monthly 16, this is how old I am, a monthly 16 millimeter newsreel that they would hand carry to university campuses for the next month, showing the film to student organizations, and because the major media wasn't covering the story. And the only way to tell the story for people to be aware of what was going on, what was really happening, was for this sort of distributed infrastructure is the current term for it, but basically we're all volunteers shooting tri-X, you know, and on the run, and just handing the exposed footage without ever seeing it to New York Newsreel, who would then process and edit whatever they needed to do. And that was going on for a few years. New York Newsreel is famous for this. So what's happening now, Myanmar is almost a news blackout, you know, in major media. And you're essentially embracing that same model, which is let the story be told, let's find it, distribute it as best we can, maybe weekly, maybe monthly, whatever will work. But I applaud your efforts on that front, because information is extremely hard to obtain even today. And you know, I look through all of the media that's available to me, and I know that the story is not being covered. That it's not being covered well. It's very frustrating in that sense.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think also that at the moment, most of our network are not filming anymore, or if it's really
Sure.
very secretly, and also shifting, like, I think also it's shifting towards not being political, you know. It's shifting towards, okay, we want to do something, but it's not going to be political in any way. And so, yeah, so I think it's not going to be easy to yeah, it's not so easy to film, so there will not be so much new material, you know, at the moment, coming from our resources, which is understandable completely. Yeah.
And
Well,
I
you
want
know,
to add something.
please go ahead.
Like, to also thinking about like this current situations, like spreading out to the world, and many more people are knowing, like Myanmar, there are always like new people knowing about our country, and but like for those people who are fresh to Myanmar, that this is the only this current situation is the thing that they got to see from this country. So for such communities and for such people, it would be really great to also do like this kind of film screenings, like this Burma Spring Benefit Film Festival, like screening like films from Myanmar from the other years, like from the past, that to show the character of Myanmar and character of the people, character of the country, so that they would have covered the whole situation, like from the what happened to the past, what was the last 10 years, what was the last 5 years, and what was behind that, and then all this. So I'm really hoping there will be like this kind of like festivals, like getting Burmese films, and like any like programs like screening Burmese films like around the world, like this, like streaming all the time. That's what I'm hoping.
Well, you know, you can imagine we're having this discussion here, of course, because of the response that we've had. And we tried to program what I would describe as a panoramic view of Burma, not merely political, not merely historic or related to issues only, but also storytelling for its own sake, and some from non-local filmmakers, which of course we can question the nature of the gaze, an outsider's view, but still a panoramic. And clearly we could not be encyclopedic in the short time that we had to build this festival, but the response suggests to us that perhaps we should think about not necessarily the same model that we have here, which is wonderful and it's doing its job, and we're very grateful to all of the people. And I want to make a quick thanks to Max, who's manning the fort behind the scenes on this particular, there's Max, on this particular speaker forum, and has been for the last week or so. And we have a whole team of folks who are looking at every film that comes in, and we invite conversation to continue afterwards. So I want to thank you all for participating and for your work. And I want to say to viewers, if you haven't already, please visit the Burma Spring Benefit Film Festival and explore the program with 39 films, 9 speaker forums, including this one, and they're all available as videos. Please consider making a donation to support the nonviolent democracy movement there. The festival runs through June 20th. You have plenty of time, even if you haven't started yet. You can jump right on, and you have a whole week to explore the program. And before we close, I have a little surprise special announcement that I'd like to share with everybody. And we're going to have the world premiere of a new film shot in Burma after the coup. The name of the film is Padao Myanmar Spring, and will be available on the festival site starting Monday, June 14th. Director Jeannie Marie Hallisey, producer Greg Butensky, cinematographer Rarish Michael Gilizan, and very special guest, we hope, Ma Nan, one of the film's subjects, will take part in a live speaker forum hosted by Kenneth Wong on Wednesday, June 16th, 6 p.m. California time. So, and we may have another surprise or two. There is a flurry as a result of us extending the festival to June 20th. So I want to thank all of you filmmakers who have taken the time to share your work and your thoughts with us. And I want to thank the audience for being here and supporting the Burma Spring Benefit Film Festival. And we hope that you'll get to explore the program. And all of you filmmakers, I hope you touch base on the program as well. You all have passes, so you have no excuse not to look at all the films if you have a chance. So thank you very much, and we'll say good night, good morning, depending on where you are.
Thank you, Tano. Thank you so much. And
Thank
I
you,
just
everyone.
before we all go, I just wanted to say also that thank you for hosting this festival, because it's amazing what you have been able to put up in such a short time. For showing our film, for showing all the other films. Thanks.
A very inspired, motivated, and skillful team. That's all I have to say. I take no credit. Good. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.